Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I am Dr. Afrinish Amanat and today I will teach you about joints. We will start with arthritis. Inflammation of joints. The first topic which we are going to study is osteoarthritis. Its other name is degenerative joint disease. It is the most common type of joint disease and is one of the most 10 disabling conditions in developed nations. It is characterized by progressive erosion of articular cartilage. Its prevalence increases exponentially beyond the age of 50. It is also called degenerative joint disease, and it is characterized by degeneration of articular cartilage that results in structural and functional failure of synovial joints. It is the most common disease of joints. It is considered intrinsic disorder of cartilage in which the chondrocytes respond to biochemical and mechanical stresses resulting in breakdown of the matrix and failure of its repair. Idiopathic or primary osteoarthritis. When osteoarthritis appears insidiously without apparent initiating cause, it is called idiopathic or primary. In these cases, the disease is usually oligoarticular, affects only few joints. Secondary osteoarthritis, it is responsible for 5% of the cases and it appears in younger individuals with some predisposing condition like some joint deformity, previous joint injury, or underlying systemic disease that places the joints at risk. This type is called secondary osteoarthritis. This diagram shows the gross picture of synovial joint. The joint is located in between the two bones. This is the synovial fluid lined by the synovial membrane, and this light blue area represents articular cartilage. In osteoarthritis, you can appreciate the articular cartilage has undergone degeneration. It has been destroyed, and the process is also affecting the underlying bones. The lesions stem from degeneration of articular cartilage and its disordered repair. Articular cartilage reduces the friction between the two joints, and this ability of the cartilage is through the viscoelastic properties of extracellular matrix, principally type 2 collagen, proteoglycans and water, secreted by chondrocytes. The main function is of the chondrocytes. Certain genetic factors are involved, genes involved in prostaglandin metabolism and WNT signaling. Although the chondrocytes proliferate and continuously synthesize and secrete proteoglycans, but ultimately the degradation exceeds synthesis and the composition is also altered. Matrix metalloproteinases are secreted by chondrocytes which degrade type 2 collagen. The cytokines and diffusible factors from chondrocytes and synovial cells, TGF beta, basically TGF transforming growth factor beta, which induces matrix metalloproteinases, tumor necrosis factor, prostaglandins and nitric oxide, they have been implicated in osteoarthritis. And chronic low level inflammation also contributes. In the early stages, the chondrocytes proliferate and form clusters. As a result, the water content of the matrix increases and the concentration of proteoglycans decreases. The normal horizontally arranged collagen type 2 fibers are cleaved, yielding fissures and clefts at the articular surface. This diagram shows you synovial joint. This is synovial membrane and this is the articular cartilage containing chondrocytes. Certain genetic and biochemical mechanisms are responsible for producing the disease. Transforming growth factor produced by the synovial cells induces the production of matrix metalloproteinases which degrade the collagen. Other factors are also produced, tumor necrosis factor, nitric oxide and PGE2, which also degrade the articular cartilage. On the other hand, the chondrocyte proliferation goes side by side. And in the late stage, there is chondrocyte dropout as well as apoptosis, and the subchondral bone changes also become apparent. This manifests as soft articular surface. Joint mice. How these joint mice are produced in osteoarthritis? Full thickness portions of the cartilage are sloughed off. The dislodged pieces of cartilage and subchondral bone tumble in the joint, forming loose bodies. This is called joint mice. Bone hibernation. The exposed subchondral bone plate becomes the new articular surface. Friction is produced with the opposing surface of the bone, which burnishes the exposed bone, and it gives the appearance of polished ivory, which is called bone hibernation. This is just to make you memorize about the joint mice. Small fractures can dislodge pieces of cartilage and subchondral bone in the joint, forming loose bodies. And the fracture gap also allows the synovial fluid to be forced in the subchondral regions in one way, ball valve-like mechanism, forming fibrous walled cysts. Another feature of this disease is the formation of osteophytes, which develop at the margins of articular surface, and they are capped by fibrocartilage and hyaline cartilage that gradually ossify. The synovium is congested and fibrotic and contains inflammatory cells. This is the appearance of osteophyte. It is a spur-like bony outgrowth covered by the hyaline cartilage. Small bits of cartilage-covered bone known as joint mice may break off into the joint. Histological demonstration of fibrillation of articular cartilage. As you can see, the normal arrangement has been disturbed and it has fibrillar appearance. Here you can see the subchondral cyst, hibernated articular surface exposing the subchondral bone. This is the remaining articular cartilage. Here cyst is formed, and this is the hibernated articular surface. This is the X-ray picture. It shows that the joint space has been reduced and subchondral sclerosis with scattered oval radiolucent cysts and peripheral osteocyte lipping. This is the peripheral formation of peripheral osteocyte. There is deep achy pain that worsens with use, morning stiffness and crepitus. Limitation of the range of movement. If the spinal foramina are impinged by the osteophytes, it can result in root compression and radicular pain, which can result in muscular spasms, muscle atrophy and neurological deficits. The joints which are commonly involved are the weight-bearing joints: hips, knees, lower lumbar and cervical vertebrae, proximal and distal interphalangeal joints of fingers, first corpometatarsal joints and tarsometatarsal joints of feet, and Hubbard nodes. These are prominent osteophytes at the distal interphalangeal joints, and they are common in women. End-stage joint disease results in fibrillation, villus hyperplasia, formation of osteophytes, hibernation, and joint mice. The other topic which we are going to discuss is rheumatoid arthritis. It is chronic systemic inflammatory disorder that may affect many other tissues: skin, blood vessels, heart, lung, and muscles, but principally it attacks the joints. It results in non-suppurative, proliferative, and inflammatory synovitis that progresses to destruction of the articular cartilage and ankylosis of joints. The synovial fluid has been shown in the red color: thickened synovial membrane and degraded cartilage. This diagram shows you the difference between rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis. Rheumatoid arthritis is basically synovitis. There is formation of pannus, erosion of the cartilage, and fibrous ankylosis. On the other hand, osteoarthritis is characterized by destruction of articular cartilage. There is infiltration of synovial stroma by inflammatory infiltrate composed of T cells, B cells, plasma cells, dendritic cells, and macrophages. There is vasodilatation and angiogenesis. Organizing fibrin covers portion of the synovium and floating in the joint space as rice bodies. Neutrophils accumulate in the synovial fluid and along the surface of the synovium, but not deep in the synovial stroma. Osteoclastic activity occurs allowing the synovium to penetrate into the bone and causes juxta-articular erosions, subchondral cysts, and osteoporosis. The characteristic feature is pannus formation, and you are asked about pannus formation in OSPE as well as in multiple choice question. The pannus is mass of synovium and synovial stroma consisting of inflammatory cells, granulation tissue, and synovial fibroblasts, which grows over the articular cartilage and causes its erosion. After the cartilage has been destroyed, the pannus bridges the opposing bones to form fibrous ankylosis, which undergoes ossification and results in bony ankylosis. This is pannus formation, and ultimately ankylosis will result. Formation of pannus, proliferating synovial membrane along with granulation tissue and inflammatory cells. Rheumatoid nodules are firm, non-tender, and round to oval, and they are found in the skin, arise in the subcutaneous tissue. On microscopy, they have central zone of fibrinoid necrosis surrounded by epithelioid histiocytes, activated macrophages, and numerous lymphocytes along with plasma cells. Rheumatoid vasculitis can also occur. It involves medium to small sized vessels and is similar to that occurring in polyarthritis nodosa, except that the kidneys are not involved in rheumatoid arthritis. Segments of small arteries such as vasa nervorum and digital arteries are obstructed by endarthritis, resulting in neuropathy, ulcers, and gangrene. Leukocytoclastic vasculitis produces purpura, cutaneous ulcers, and nail bed infarction. This is the synovial membrane. Here you can see the pannus has been formed, and it contains the inflammatory cells, macrophages, plasma cells, dendritic cells, and lymphocytes. This is the histological picture showing you proliferation of synovial membrane, and here you can see the inflammatory exudate. This is the high power view showing you areas of fibrinoid necrosis surrounded by the inflammatory cells, plasma cells, as well as lymphocytes. The pathogenesis of rheumatoid arthritis is important. Short essay question. Susceptibility genes. Susceptibility genes as well as the environmental factors are responsible. This results in failure of tolerance, unregulated lymphocyte activation. The environmental factors cause enzymatic modification of self proteins. The result is that the T and B cell responses to self antigens occurs, including antigens in the joint tissue. Helper T cells type 17-1 as well as the antibodies, they cause destruction of the joint space. Lymphocytes, antibodies, and immune complexes enter the joint. They release proteases and cytokines, activate fibroblasts, chondrocytes, synovial cells, and ultimately pannus is formed along with destruction of bone and cartilage. The pathogenesis is important. This is the figure of new robins, and this one is of the old robins. Rheumatoid arthritis of the hand. There is diffuse osteopenia, loss of the joint spaces, and bony erosions. Diagnostic criteria is important. You will study this in detail in medicine. The presence of four of the following criteria is important. One is morning stiffness, arthritis in 3 or more joint areas, arthritis of hand joints, symmetric arthritis, rheumatoid nodule, and serum rheumatoid factor. Typical radiographic changes. These are the 7 changes among which 4 should be present to make the diagnosis. This diagram shows you the differences between rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis. Morning stiffness lasts less than 30 minutes. Here it lasts more than 30 minutes. It is basically inflamed synovium, and here there is cartilage loss. It is symmetric arthritis, and osteoarthritis is asymmetric arthritis. Herberden nodes are produced in osteoarthritis, and here rheumatoid nodules are produced. It is basically autoimmune disease, and osteoarthritis is degenerative disease. These differences are very important. Thank you, class.